Hello everybody. Now, when I first talked about switching to FireFall, I think a lot of you assumed that I had made that 45-minute rant just to build up to my reasoning for why I wanted to switch from Guild Wars to FireFall temporarily. Well, that really wasn't the case. When I started that rant, it was mainly just to tell people that Guild Wars 2 might not be the game for them right now. It's not finished, it's a plethora of game styles, and that they shouldn't be sitting around waiting for this game to become the perfect game for them, because it won't. It'll become arena-ness design as long as the community tries to not change it for the worst. The actual decision to switch to FireFall was kind of during the rant, like close to the end. I decided to take some time to look at a game that has been developed to have a strong launch for PvP as an esports title. I mean, when I made that announcement, I didn't even have a beta key yet. I haven't played the game before. It really was spur of the moment. But literally right after I made that recording, I got in contact with some friends who were able to contact some of the developers and give me a beta key pretty quickly, like in about an hour. I didn't feel like jumping through hoops to find one of the giveaways. I'm not very good at those things. But now I'm in, and I want to give my interpretation of the PvE content as the beta stands right now. But yes, this is definitely in beta. A lot of things are subject to change, but after reading up on this game, watching their big FireFall stream content, I see a lot of issues I want to address, a good summary of the game, and what I have to look forward to this game in general. Now, for those of you that don't know, FireFall is an MMO FPS that is very good at focusing on the FPS part of the combat. So it won't fail like Global Agenda did, just because Global Agenda has some major mechanic flaws as an MMO FPS. But yeah, you can actually think of them pretty similarly. The best part about this is that there is really no leveling. There are side grades and unlocking more abilities, but you only get access to 2 so far, I think. You might get more. There's a space open for more on your UI. But for now, I've only been able to unlock 2 abilities at a time to help me with PvE content. So what you do is you unlock your battle suit for your class and gain XP to collect side grades throughout the grid that will help you take down your enemies. Some of these things are pretty cool, like recon. Even though it's a sniper, it relies on trap setting and different types of ammo, like incendiary rounds or explosive ammo. So you switch between those two to make yourself a long-range AoE damage dealer while you're sniping people's heads off. And that's the first problem I have with this game, is that the combat is based around the abilities rather than the skill shots of the gun. The guns do not do as much damage as they really should be doing against your enemies compared to the abilities. Now, this applies for every class except Assault. Assault has the strongest primary weapon in the game and is really just overpowered at the moment. And his abilities on top of that do 3 times as much damage if done right. So that's my main problem with this game right now, is that even if you're a good shooter, you will still not be strong enough to take on your enemies if you're not able to use your abilities into a successful rotation or skill combo. And I'll talk about this a lot more when I get to the PvP section, because it applies more there, since the enemies are obviously much smarter and tougher. But for now, just realize that looking at your abilities and the ones you unlock is very important. Right now in my recon, I am doing explosive ammo and remote mine. That is really strong just because it does a ton of damage to towers, and the mines can be tossed insanely far, to the point where you don't aggro a target until you detonate the mine at their feet. So it's kind of dumb, and hopefully they'll get fixed. But if you feel like joining me in the beta, there are a few things I need to warn you about. First, this game is not set up for being user-friendly right now. There is no beginner tutorial And they admit that. They're saying they're spending time working on PvE content because this game relies on having more content than you, the player, has, because the game is based on you unlocking content by beating parts of the game for everybody. What that means is that events will pop up to where you have to drive back a horde, defend a base against a horde attack, and all this dynamic event stuff. But if you successfully defend a camp long enough for it to start to be settled in by NPCs, the game will actually patch in that next week or so, and you'll see a new town arise from that camp that you were able to push for, and you unlock more parts of the map that way. You start pushing back the enemy forces, unlocking more parts of the game. They've already been working on developing as we speak. This is a huge risk for the game, but it gives you so much content. It makes you treat every part of the game as endgame content because it is the final part of the game until you finally are able to push back and settle a new camp. So this is a really cool idea, and we'll see how well they're actually able to keep up with all the progress that the players are making. Plus, it can't make the same mistakes Guild Wars 2 made. The difficulty, as they unlock more areas, has to get harder. Enemies have to become smarter. They have to group up in different forces. New enemies must happen. It must become more difficult to keep these areas safe when they unlock a certain amount of content. It should be a struggle for everybody to keep these forces at bay. So hopefully they'll treat this right and it'll become a really fun endgame content for you guys. But like I said earlier, that's what they're working on right now. And they said in an interview on their stream that they're not going to be working on a new player area until launch. So everyone in beta, you're going to have a bit of a struggle getting used to the UI and all of the hotkeys because they're in a very strange setup, and especially like dealing with groups and setting up squads with friends, it's really annoying. But you finally figure it out after a while, and luckily asking around in beta really isn't that big of a deal. And starting out, questing is very, very limited. It's mainly walk over here, kill things, and walk back. It's a very similar questing style for MMOs, and definitely not a leap forward. But the dynamic events that'll pop up are really what the game's about. And those are going to be the ones that change the game. So we'll see if we actually have that many quests in the game, or we're going to see if it's going to be mainly working on developing these areas, helping out in these areas with dynamic events as you struggle to push forward in the world. And next on our topic is something I have such a problem with in this game, and obviously a lot of people do too. I was watching the stream when the guy from Extra Credits came on, and he was really harassing the developers about the female models in this game and how overly sexualized they were. I had no idea. I mean, I logged in. I was really unhappy about what options they gave you. There's no character customizations, and your character look is dependent on your class. So if you find something offensive or just something you don't want to be staring at for hundreds of hours because you're in third person mode glued to their ass, you might be persuaded to not pick certain classes. Assault, engineer, medic, even recon actually. Recon, I don't know. It's not just the clothing. Seriously, the character models are stupid. Her tits are bigger than her face, and the way they angle the boobs in the 3D model and third person mode, her left one is coming out of the center of her chest, and the right one is popping out of her shoulder. Literally, that's why they have to hold the gun at their waist, because if they held it at their shoulder, it would be going into the breast model. That's just retarded. And yes, they also have a huge ass and mammoth hentai thighs. I don't know what they're thinking. Damn you, 4chan. I mean, I get it. This is an anime style game, kind of like a PS2 Xenosaga style. But seriously. Now, there is a character in the game there's an NPC in the game that you meet called Ratchet. And they have little anime icons when they talk to you and give you quests. Their anime icon is very different from the actual 3D model. Her icon basically has Misty's overalls from Pokemon, except her boobs are 4 times as big and actually pushing the suspenders so they never touch her stomach and go straight to the waist. Which, I don't know, this whole thing reminds me of like watching Ghost in the Shell. And yes, that was completely over-sexualized. And then you actually get to the 3D model of the NPC in game, and she has a normal body. Like, it's nothing like her image, and it's nothing compared to your character. I mean, I was expecting her boobs to compete with mine. And yet, her model looks completely normal, while yours looks like you should be taking fall damage from your tits beating up your face when you land. It's just silly. I don't know who designed the 3D models for this game, but it is really disgusting. They already had their concept art come out for these characters, and they look fine. Nothing on the costumes were changed, but the models look fine. The drawings looked normal. And then when they got it into 3D processing, it just completely went crazy. Engineer obviously has a pant leg missing, so you can be staring at bare ass all day. Assault has a Lara Croft feel, even though Lara Croft would call you a hooker. And the Recon has a very similar costume to Ghost in the Shell model, where it's skin-tight latex, but with an obscene body structure. It is embarrassing when your character models are more over-exaggerated than Terra's. I'm not talking about the costumes. Costumes are completely offensive in every way. We all know this. It's Korean MMO. We knew this from the start. But when their elves look more human than your human models do, that's sad. Which is so stupid because this game looks amazing. They took so much time into making this game look like a really colorful military post-apocalyptic future with tons of excellent detail into like the ocean where you can see the arc light that crashed right next to you guys. And the thing that pisses me off about it is that the guy from Extra Credits harassed them on it on their stream. And here's what the developer said. 1. Sex sells. Yes, porn sells. But that does not make me want to be forced to jack off to magazines every part of our spare time just because that's the content we're given. The other thing they said is that, yeah, we'll think about changing the models. We'll let you buy new character models for real money. Seriously, you want me to pay extra money so that I do not feel repulsed to play a character? No, that is your fault and that's something you should fix, not me. Not with my money. You need to add character customization, add reasonable character models, and change your NPCs. Your NPCs should not be these character models too. It's just retarded. If this company wants to take this game seriously, and they want us to take it seriously, they should take key concepts of gameplay seriously. But other than that, there's just a few bugs. The gliders don't work very well. They work about half the time where you end up crashing. Water kills you, and parts of the map are surrounded by water, so it's possible to get lost or trapped in a map, and it's really dumb. So they can either add swimming and add correct barriers to the game, or change the map design to where we can actually get around better. Because I'm either blocked off by pools of water, seriously, it's so stupid, or I'm blocked off by high cliffs that I can't jump over. And it gets in the way if I'm trying to get to the next dynamic event so that I can participate in your content. Really annoying. And then there are definitely some sound glitches, especially with some of the assault rifles you get. to where the sounds will keep repeating itself and get faster and faster and really just tear into your skull until you start firing again or switch weapons. And that's really annoying. But yeah, I know they're fixing that, of course. So even though I'm looking at this game, it is definitely in beta and I definitely have some problems with it. But this isn't the part of the game that I'm really going to sink some time into, especially for this channel. So we'll see how it looks when I look at the PvP section. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to click the like and subscribe buttons below for future content on this game, and I'll see you next time.